My name is Emanuel Franklin. And so my son is Desmond Franklin, who was killed April the 9th on West 25th between 1:30 and 2 p.m. in the afternoon by an off-duty officer named Jose Garcia, badge number 2168. So from what I understand happened is that this officer had some racial intentions, and he approached my son and another individual and then took off, where apparently he took off and waited for them. So as he waited till they came out of Wendy's, he was there, and as they came around, he followed them and fired 5 shots into the car, murdering my son Desmond, 1 bullet hitting him in the temple and missing the other 16-year-old passenger. My son did crash into Riverside Cemetery, and the officer, Jose Garcia, took off. He never stayed to investigate what he had done, but he arrived later and dialed 911. Now, according to his 911 call, he said that shots was fired at him. A gun was pointed at him. But as the investigation continued, there was no indication that any shots was fired from my son's car at all. Only shots was fired was from his. Our first understanding was there was 3 shots. But as the investigation came to a close, we realized it was 5 shots. And right now, I'm just still so devastated and upset about the situation because he's still on paid leave. And it's been 7 months now. And it's a disappointment, not only to me and my family, but to the community, because he shouldn't be out there. He was a murderer that day. He was not in uniform. He was not in a patrol car. He never flashed a badge. For whatever reason, there was hatred in this man's heart to take my son's life for his color. And I just don't think he deserved to be on the streets anymore. So we're hoping that the Attorney General offices will, present this thing to a grand jury to get this man off the street. We're just hoping for the best, because that day was the most disturbing day of my life. I have seen it on the news, I've heard it over and over. But when it came to my doorstep, I didn't even know how to accept it. And I didn't know what to think of it. But the more the case went on, I found out that, let me just go back just a little bit. After the killing, we noticed on video that the EMTs was just standing around letting my son bleed out instead of taking him to the trauma center, which is Metro. So it's only about that much distance from where he crashed. So Metro called me and said, come to the hospital. I'm thinking it's just an accident, a real bad accident. Well, when I get there, they told me he was shot in the head by an off-duty police officer. But they never told me why. So I say, let me see my son. Let me see him. They wouldn't, they denied me to see him. So there was 7 to 8 sheriffs had me closed up in a room with the doctor and some other lady, I don't know who she was. But I say, let me see him, and the sheriff, the investigating sheriff, said, well, he's not here. I said, well, where is he? Well, I signed off on him to be moved to the coroner's office. So I said, what do you mean? That's my son. You can't sign off on my son. And then the doctor said, he's not here. He's at the corner. So I rushed back home after being really emotional. And I called the corners right away. And I said, well, I'm calling, about my son Desmond, because the Metro said that you guys received him. He said, no, we don't have him yet. I said, what do you mean? He said, who told you that? I said, the doctor and the sheriff. He said, no, your son is still over at Metro. We're waiting on him. He haven't made it here yet. So they lied to me to cover up what this officer did. And that's what I believe. And they've been protecting him ever since April the 9th. And I only asked her to give me just a few seconds with his body while I was there. And they didn't allow me to do that. So we left it in the sheriff's hand. And he just gave me the runaround. He never really, to me, I don't think he investigated anything. Because you can't investigate your own. And this guy, Jose Garcia, he's a murderer. And I call it like I see it. And that day, he had so much hatred in his heart for them two kids. And he proved that. But you murdered my son, and then you flee, just like a criminal. We have more criminals and gang members behind badges than we do on the street. And they are protected and covered. But the ones on the street out here in our society are convicted, charged, and put away ASAP. I'm really disappointed in the mayor and in the chief, because as I reached out to them, they totally ignored my wishes and my son is death. It was Frank Jackson that said they don't want anything to do with the case. Give it to the Attorney General. Well, what I can say about that is that it's still pending. I can just say that. And as I said before, we're hoping for the Attorney General, to present it to a grand jury and get this guy off the street. As of now, we're just still waiting, as we've been since day one. You don't murder someone and then just allow them to bleed out and just leave them for dead. You're supposed to have been protecting and serving. But instead, you was murdering and you was fleeing. April the 9th would always be a memory that I would never forget. I dream of that day. I dream of his badge number. 2168 would always haunt me and this family, because that's the number that took out my son for no reason, but because he was black. How much longer, Roger, do we have to accept this from people that are supposed to be protecting our families? Where's the consequences? Where's the accountability for these guys? There is none because of a broken justice system. Accountability is putting him away for life. That's exactly what it looks like, because that's what he deserved. He purposely murdered my son. And he should pay for it. Just like if I went out and murdered somebody, they would give me life in prison. So you didn't only do a drive-by, but you shot 5 times inside of a moving vehicle in the mid-afternoon where there's kids and traffic and everything on 25th. Everybody's out. So that day he didn't even care who got hurt or who got killed, because if it wasn't for God, it could have went all kinds of ways. Once my son got hit, because he was gone once he got hit. So the car was doing its own thing. But thank God he moved it that way instead of that way, because there was so much traffic that day. Everybody could have been in trouble. From one man, well, I'm not even gonna call him a man, from a coward that had hatred in his heart, that was raised with hatred, to hate another person for their color. Not for their heart, not for their spirit, but for their color of their skin. And it's sad. And it's so disappointing, not only to me, but to this society, that we would allow these type of individuals to protect us. You understand? To be on a force, and then you do nothing about it. They don't have insurance, so the city is now paying for all these lawsuits. Taxpayers are paying out of their pockets for something that these cops have done. It just doesn't make any sense. All polices are not bad. But when I encounter, and this is really my first encounter with something like this with the police, when I see something like that, I have to say something. Because police is like this is just, it's so disgusting, knowing that this type of person is on the force, and we're paying for this person to protect your family, my family, and our children's on the streets from peoples like themselves. But because they wear a badge and a uniform, to this system, it makes a difference than you and I. You understand what I'm saying? But when I look at the whole picture, you have to get rid of the bad apples in the basket. Because if you don't, it's going to corrupt the rest of the officers. There's a code of silence in this justice system, in this police departments. You better not say nothing. The mayor better not say nothing, because he owed favors. He's not slick either. The mayor owed favors, the chief owed favors. So you hire these peoples because you owe somebody. So they say, let him in. He don't have a degree. He don't have no training. Just put a uniform on him, give him a gun and a badge, and let him loose. Now, today, kids are getting killed by the same bullet that is corrupting this system. Because the bullet don't have no eyes. But as a human being, we do. So it's what's in your heart that pulls that trigger. And without giving a person a second to even surrender, it's horrific. It's devastating to families. I didn't know exactly what to make out of this. But I had Alicia Kirkman reach out and tell me this is what it's going to be. This is how you're going to feel, because she have experienced it. I didn't want to accept it, but as time went on, the things that she told me was starting to happen. I was feeling emotional all the time. I was here, I was there. My mindset was gone behind this man and what he did to this family. I just don't understand, why is he still on the street? Why do they go on paid leave, paid vacation with my money? I paid you to kill my son or to kill her son. We pay for that. But what do we get in return? File a lawsuit that I have to pay for, because they're not paying for it. They think money is going to restore all these emotions and feelings that we had for our loved ones that they took away. But money is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. So it's not about the money. I want to see this man in prison, because you can't kill him. So let him suffer. And every year, I would like to see him confined in a dark cell on my son's birthday. Turn the lights out on him, because that's what he did to my son. And that's just my justice. That's my accountability for him. But until then, he's just out here free. While I sit here with you guys and suffer some more. Be emotional some more. Talk about it some more. Talk about it some more and some more. But who is really hearing me besides the families that know where I am? Those are the ones that's listening. Because the people in power, the one that we vote for, they're not listening. They'll tell you a good story to get in the office, but once in there, they don't hear you no more. They don't pay no more attention to you. And I realized that when I reached out to Frank Jackson, and he didn't reach out back. So I went to his house and still got denied. But I said what I said, and I said what I meant. You shouldn't be no mayor, because you're the same person that they are, because you're helping them cover it up. You're the same person. This is your team. Y'all just one big gang out to destroy a system that's already broken. They say if it's not broke, don't fix it. But what about rebuilding it? Because we already know it's broken. And it's broken because Garcia is still free. Jose Garcia is still free. And he's been free for 7 months. I can't even go after him, because I want justice. How long do people have to keep fighting for justice? When do justice come to us? Just keep killing and keep killing and keep killing. And no justice is served. No accountability is held. Somebody have to make an example out of these guys, out of these police officers that is doing this. It was just another killing just a few weeks ago with CMHA. shot the kid. So there's another family hurting behind that blind bullet. Hurting. Take that family, set them over there with everybody else. As the system say, get in line. Because you're not the first family. But that don't even sound right. That don't even sound right. It sounds like there's a system that's for itself and for the members of it. Not for a real society that we live in, that peoples like us try to make good. I don't see color. I look at your spirit. I look at your heart. That's what I see. I don't see your skin color. Violence is so real, but they say it's black on black crime. Is it really? The black on black crime is just stress from one another. But the real killing comes from the officers, because they get to walk away. They get to go home. My son don't get to come to my house no more. He don't get to kiss me on my forehead and tell me he loved me. He don't get to do that no more. It's encouraging to know that there's thousands of people out here who support not only my family, but other families that went through this. And I love them for it. I don't even know all their names. But what I do know is that I get calls, I get posts from Facebook and, Instagram, things like that, encouraging me and this family to keep fighting, because we're not going to give up. We've always been fighters. That's how we built, to fight. We don't give up. Because one day, God is going to open that door, and every last one of these polices will pay. They will pay for the sins they have committed. I wouldn't say I see myself as an activist, but a parent who have seen enough. A parent that want to speak out. A parent that want to take sides with the families that's been hurting. That's who I see myself as. Someone that just want to help. Someone that want to be there. I'm not knowledgeable of all this other stuff that people does. I follow the word of God. And whenever the Spirit moves, I move. So if I have something to say, then I pray on it and then I say it. But I believe that these families and myself have the power to bring this justice system down and get it rebuilt one day. I believe what I really want to say is that I'm just glad that I serve a God who knows my pain, who's going to fight and give us justice that we deserve. And that's what I really want everybody to know, is that I serve a God who never let me down. and he's gonna always be here. I know my son is good. I know he's good because that's how I raised him. So Jose Garcia did not just kill an ordinary boy. He killed a child of God, whether he went astray or not. But the Bible says to train a child up in the way that he should go. And when he's older, he won't depart from it. So it's okay that we stray because we're human. But nobody deserves to have their life taken unless in it's their time. And my son just went too soon.